Welcome to Women Lead, a production of the Women of Color Empowerment Institute. We are your hosts. I'm Nichelle Austin Pammies.
I'm Kathy Eggleston.
And I'm Bernadette Norris Weeks. Today's show is about owning your own future, the road to financial freedom. Our guest is none other than Deborah Owens. She is known as America's Wealth Coach. Through proven techniques, she has helped thousands of women transform from cautious savers to confident investors.
Now, Ms. Owens has helped people of all incomes build wealth. She is a financial expert, author, media personality, and a nationally recognized public speaker. She's a 20-year financial services industry veteran and former vice president with Fidelity Investments.
Ms. Owens is the CEO of Wealthy You, which provides coaching and training for organizations and individuals, utilizing a framework that she describes as the 7 wealthy habits. She helps women take ownership of their personal, professional, and financial success.
Women of color are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in the country. We create, deliver, inspire, but have you noticed that when conversations shift to talking about money, somehow, people listen to women of color a little bit less than they should. And so we really want to change that. We don't want our voices muffled when it comes to money and talking about money. We want our strong voices to come through for these conversations as well and not disappear.
Absolutely, and I am well aware of the report from Nielsen that they unveiled at one of our conferences a couple of years ago, saying that women of color are super consumers. We set cultural trends. We buy everything in the market, but we lag in buying investments. Investments are things that appreciate. Investments are things that grow value over time. We have got to get into that conversation or we're going to be left behind.
That's right.
I totally agree. Women of color are leaders when it comes to the culture of this country. And people have taken notice, like the streaming services, the television shows, etc. We're represented there because they've taken notice of how important we are to the culture. Question is, when are we going to talk about our own financial freedom and independence?
It's time to have that conversation. We have a great show planned for you today. So come right back with us to hear from America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens. At the Women of Color Empowerment Institute, our mission is to enhance and expand leadership by women of color. We do this in a variety of different ways, including but not limited to providing mentorship opportunities for young professionals where we assist in helping to create paths to leadership. We empower women to develop capacities for social change. We produce programs that promote heritage awareness, and we provide training opportunities for business and government. Our institute holds seminars focused on professional success techniques, and we host many other events such as our popular Advocates for Change and Leaders Connect. The Women of Color Empowerment Institute publishes a magazine called Women Lead. Our signature event is the Women of Color Empowerment Conference, a yearly conference where hundreds of leaders gather from all across the United States and beyond. To learn more about membership and how you can support our programs or be a sponsor of the Women Lead TV, visit us at nationalwomenofcolor.com. Again, that's nationalwomenofcolor.com.
The law office of Austin Pammies Norris Weeks Powell is a full-service law firm practicing in the area of governmental law, including the representation of municipalities, civil litigation, personal injury, real estate, and corporate transactional matters. With over 100 years of collective experience, our attorneys are admitted to practice before state courts, federal courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We are conveniently located in downtown Fort Lauderdale and can be reached at 954-768-9770. Or for more information about the law firm of Austin Pammies Norris Weeks Powell, visit our website at apnwlaw.com. That's apnwlaw.com.
Welcome back to Women Lead. We are pleased to have with us Deborah Owens. Thank you for joining us, Deborah.
So Deborah, how did you get started on becoming known as America's Wealth Coach.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. Great question. How did I get started on this journey? The truth is that even while I was employed in the financial services industry, it became really, really clear that unless you had a trusted advisor or someone in your family invested, that you were probably not going to get access to the kind of investment strategies that can really accelerate your financial growth and allow you to really become at par with your counterparts, if you will. And so as a result of that, I really started out feeling like if I could write books, if I could speak and provide access to this insight that I had gained from the industry, that would be the way to really address this wealth gap that we experience as people of color, and specifically women. My own mother, in the book A Purse of Your Own, I tell her story. And so that's what really brought me to the path of wanting to financially empower women.
We know that women of all races experience a gender wealth gap compared to white men, but disparities are greatest for women of color, especially Black women. Why is the wealth gap for women of color so wide?
One of the most difficult aspects of the financial services industry and what is called retail, where you're actually helping individual investors, is that the way advisors are compensated in the industry is through the assets under management. And so typically your highest producing advisors, in many cases, inherited books of business. So they didn't start from scratch. There may have been their father or someone that they knew leaving the business allowed them to buy that book, so they already have clients. Whereas if you're a person of color and you didn't come from wealth, it's very difficult to, find clients with a lot of assets. Your natural market, your friends and family, typically they're not going to have those kinds of assets. And so, one of the things that I've really been an advocate of and conveying this to large major financial services companies is that they really need to change their compensation plans and create succession plans that allows for newer brokers, newer advisors from who may not have those kinds of contacts, seed their books and the ability to get started generating income from assets under management earlier, because otherwise it makes it very difficult to stay in the industry and make a living, because typically it's going to take you about 5 years to really build a sustainable book of business that is going to replace the income of whatever industry that you left.
For women who want to invest as a way to grow wealth, how should we get started?
Women should get started in investing right where they are. And what I mean by that is one of the things that we have found in Wealthy You is that everyone has what we call investment power levers. And the most important thing you can do is to start pulling those levers. So first, if you have an employer-sponsored plan, that really is the first place to start, to make sure that you're maximizing the benefits that you have in terms of your contributions. And then to really scale up the amount that you're investing to the point where one of the goals that we target is that you're investing 20% of your income in investments. And then, the next aspect of that really is seeing what's the easiest path to investing, and typically it's right in front of you and through your employer-sponsored plan. And even if you don't have an employer-sponsored plan, then the next thing I would say is to start with apps that allow you to invest dollars rather than having to invest in full shares. And what I mean by that is apps like Stash or Acorns. That's how they became Robinhood. That's how they became so popular. The downside of that is typically when you're investing in that way, you really don't get to invest into the end of the day. But what I want to say is the first place to get started is whatever you have easy access to.
Deborah, in the Nelson Company report that we spoke about earlier in the show, the digital space has seen huge domination from African American women with the expansion of such movements as Black Twitter. The report analyzed data that showed that African American women in particular had the most economic control, with spending power being in the trillions. What is your company doing to get women of color to reallocate our power from spending to investing?
There are two issues that women need to confront in order to be a successful investor. The first is self imposed, and many times where we say it's difficult, and then we want to delegate that responsibility to someone. And what I really want to convey to, particularly to women of color, is that you can't delegate your financial future to anyone. And even if you have enough financial advisors, it's important that you're able to have real conversations, that you're able to really review their performance to make sure that your assets are gaining the types of returns that are, comparatively competitive to if you were just investing in a mutual fund. And then secondly, and the other point I want to make is this, and it's that women and women of color are wired to invest. We are typically the CFOs of the household. We are responsible for 9 out of 10 of the buying decisions in a household. And so the point I want to make is it's just as easy for us to leverage that knowledge in the decisions that we make about our investments. And, those are two things. We've got to, just rid ourselves of thinking that this is too difficult and own the kind of influence and knowledge that we possess.
The pandemic has taken a toll on many women's finances and has amplified the challenges that women work to overcome every day. And for some Black and Hispanic women in particular, the financial pressure has intensified, with millions of women having left the workforce. Where do you see this trend heading, and what advice would you offer to women who are afraid to invest at this time?
Our parents always said, save for a rainy day. And in fact, this was not a rainy day. This was more like a tsunami. But I think the silver lining in all of that, and we certainly see that in Wealthy You, is that people have begun to recognize that you can't have one stream of income. Just like you have to diversify your investments, you need to diversify your income streams, because you never know what can happen. And certainly we didn't see this pandemic happening. So the advice that I would give women is to really think about ways that they can certify skills. In the Wealthy You community, one of the things that I conveyed at the very beginning of this pandemic was to really look at what were the industries that would really succeed in an environment where we were staying at home. And so as a result, many of the women in our community looked at jobs that allowed them to virtually, or side hustles that they were able to conduct virtually. And that's really the advice that I would give, is to really think about where this economy is going. Certainly we see technology and healthcare and the retailers, the big e-commerce companies like Amazon were some of the winners. And so you need to go where the growth is, not only in terms of investments, but also in terms of your career.
Many women of color are turning to social media and their peers for investment advice instead of hiring financial advisors. What are the pros and cons of this approach?
One of the things that I learned in the past year is just the power of community and the power of being with a group of like minded people. That's certainly what we've had in the Wealthy You community. And what we found is that when you're surrounded with like minded women who have the same types of aspirations and goals, that accountability and support is so critical. And so, one of the most important things that I want to encourage women to do is to create a wealth accountability group. We called them purse groups when I originally launched my program, my what do I want to campaign to financially empower 1 million women. And that was for women to start purse groups and learn and start practicing how to analyze and research stocks together.
We'll be right back after these messages with Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. At the Women of Color Empowerment Institute, our mission is to enhance and expand leadership by women of color. We do this in a variety of different ways, including but not limited to providing mentorship opportunities for young professionals where we assist in helping to create paths to leadership. We empower women to develop capacities for social change. We produce programs that promote heritage awareness, and we provide training opportunities for business and government. Our institute holds seminars focused on professional success techniques, and we host many other events such as our popular Advocates for Change and Leaders Connect. The Women of Color Empowerment Institute publishes a magazine called Women Lead. Our signature event is the Women of Color Empowerment Conference, a yearly conference where hundreds of leaders gather from all across the United States and beyond. To learn more about membership and how you can support our programs or be a sponsor of the Women Lead TV, visit us at nationalwomenofcolor.com. Again, that's nationalwomenofcolor.com.
The law office of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell is a full-service law firm practicing in the area of governmental law, including the representation of municipalities, civil litigation, personal injury, real estate, and corporate transactional matters. With over 100 years of collective experience, our attorneys are admitted to practice before state courts, federal courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We are conveniently located in downtown Fort Lauderdale and can be reached at 954-768-9770. Or for more information about the law firm of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell, visit our website at apnwlaw.com. That's apnwlaw.com.
Be sure to save the date for the 10th Annual Women of Color Empowerment Conference to take place September 11th, 2021 at the Hilton Beach Resort in Fort Lauderdale. Be sure to go on nationalwomenofcolor.com to find out more about sponsorship opportunities and how you can be a part of this amazing conference on social justice in America. We'll see you there, and until then, be empowered.
Welcome back to Women Lead. A few of our Women of Color members have questions for you, Deborah. Ladies.
Hi, Deborah. My name is Pamela Adams. My question is, as I approach retirement, how often should I be visiting with my financial advisor? Over the years, we meet once a year, maybe twice a year. But as I get closer to retirement, I'm concerned that I need to see my financial advisor more often. Also, do I need a financial advisor to manage or to review what my financial advisor has provided me?
I know there are many people who are nearing retirement, who are in their 60s, who may be watching this program and may feel like, well, is it still time for me to invest? Absolutely. One of the only ways to give yourself a raise once you start earning an income is really to make sure that your assets can provide an income that you will not outlive. And if you have a financial advisor, what is also important is that you have an understanding of the rate of return that you're earning and that you have your investments diversified. So in the event of a downturn in the market, that you would still be able to collect whatever income that you're going to need to generate. But what I would also say is that we have to look at, I almost want to retire the word retirement, because we have to begin to look at the stage of our career differently, particularly because we're living so much longer. And retiring at 65, which at the advent of the and creation of Social Security, our life expectancy was 65. Now women in particularly are living longer and longer. And so we could be living until our 90s. So we have 25 to 30 more years, a life stage, if you will. And what I would say is, not only do you want to be able to evaluate your investment advisor, but you also want to make sure that you're not too conservative and that you're still investing for growth so that your assets can keep pace with inflation and that you will have enough money to live on. The real risk is not dying too soon. It really is living too long.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for taking my question. My name is Laura Knight, and my question is what are your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Is it a fad or is it here for the long run? And if so, how do you know which one is a good investment?
Cryptocurrency is a new burgeoning digital asset. And I think that what's important, again, is that you gain a fundamental understanding of cryptocurrencies, how they work, learn the technical aspect of it, wallet security. I think the most risk in this new asset class is the ability to store it in a place that is safe and that you know you're going to have access to it. So cryptocurrency is here. And we know that because many of the larger firms like PayPal, now I believe that some of the bigger investment firms are now getting involved in the marketing of and the custody of, which is really, where you hold those assets at. That's the most important things. So I believe it's here to stay. But of course, as with anything, as the founder of a company, Wealthy You, I say do your homework.
Hi, Deborah. This is Suzanne Boyd. Hope you're well and thank you. I have a question for you. At what point, as a single professional woman who is in a loving relationship, should the net worth, finances, as well as credit score, I should say, or credit worthiness come up in a relationship?
Many women are kind of challenged with that topic around love and money. And what I know is that here's what the stats show is that many women are waiting longer to get married. And in some cases, 9 out of 10 women are going to be single. It's either we'll never marry, we'll marry and divorce, or our husband will predecease us. And so the time to have conversations about money is at the beginning of that relationship. And there is nothing wrong with putting all the cards on the table so that when you begin to see that you're going to kind of merge your lives together, that you're clear on what your value around money is, what your goals around money is, and what you see as a secure financial future. And so the point I want to make with this is that it's important for women to be open about whatever financial challenges they have or don't have. And that in choosing a mate, that you're clearly aware of whatever debts they're bringing into the relationships, and in some cases, what assets they're bringing into the relationships. Because particularly if it's a second marriage, what you want to be clear on is that those assets that you had before marriage are really codified, and that you've put together, a trust really spelling out, if you did have children prior to that marriage, what you want to happen. So the way I like to frame it as someone who's been married for over 30 years is this, is that yours, mine, or ours, it really doesn't matter as long as you agree.
My name is Whitney Kidd, and my question for Deborah. During COVID, many people started to embrace their side hustles and additional streams of revenue. And now that we're getting somewhat back to normal, many of those people are starting to transition out of their 9 to 5 in order to embrace those side hustles full time. What advice would you give to those people that are making that transition on how to save and invest properly in order to set themselves up for success? Thank you so much, Deborah, for answering my question.
One of the things that, as an entrepreneur myself, I want to really encourage and really advocate that self-employed, small business owners make sure that they not only focus on their revenues, their top lines, but that they also focus on their bottom line, and that means profitability, and that from that they capture some of their assets and create the same kind of vehicle that they had through their employer, whether it be, starting with an IRA if you don't have a lot to start with, but an SEP IRA allows you to put, up to $56,000 in depending upon how much you have in profits. You could set up your own personal 401k if you're self-employed and be able to put away upwards of over $50,000. And you can also set up a 401k for a small business owner as well. So the key really is, if you're like so many people who are listening to this and who are entrepreneurs now, and maybe you've made the shift from employee and now that you're an employer, now you have to set up those systems and infrastructure that are going to allow you to secure your future.
Well, this has been an incredible show. Thank you, Deborah Owens, for being our guest today. It was wonderful having you. And until the next time,
Be empowered.